Hello, my name's James McLaughlin, editor of Car Design News, and I'm here at a slightly damp Goodwood with a
English summer,
but altogether dry Simon Loasby, VP of Design
that's
at
me.
Hyundai. Simon, how's it going? How's the launch of the Ioniq 5N?
It's been actually amazing. So much positive commentary, so much positive feedback. We've never done a car like this before. It's our first electrified high performance EV, but it has all the N attributes for it. So putting all that together and adding the software layer and adding EV to it and adding a load of fun factor, tremendous feedback. The most important thing is to get people driving it now to understand that.
Yeah.
In design terms, it's all about functional aesthetics. It's all about the function of exterior air management. The car's got lower, the car's got wider, all things are going in the right direction. It's got bigger wheels, but those are all to support the N brand of that corner rascal, everyday sports car, racetrack capable. Those three pillars mean that from a design terms, there's just no styling. It's all about functional aesthetics. So the amount of cooling we need, because we have 800 volt architecture. This car, as Albert Biermann will tell you, can do 2 laps of the Nürburgring under 8 minutes.
Good Lord.
After each other, in sequence. Probably no other EV can do that. It's not about the lap time though, it's about the feeling and the sensation. And so our job in design terms is to house that in a sharp suit, which is not boy racer. It's for a grown-up sports car. And it's the high density of technology that's in the car, and the feedback that we're getting here. People are just hyped.
Yeah.
It's lovely. It's so many people wanting just to experience it now. And I think there's one thing that shocked me the most. I don't know whether you've heard about the virtual gear shift, but that's where, to really help the petrol head end performance guys or performance guys get into EV, we've simulated the petrol car ignition experience. So now I was thinking, well, what's that going to be like? So you have a setting, electronic setting. You have 3 different driving settings, as well as quiet mode, normal EV mode, which simulate an 8-speed twin clutch gear change electronically. But you have all the torque reaction too. So you are changing up through the gears. You're feeling it change up through the gears and change down through the gears. You're getting the sound feedback and the physical gear change feedback, the noise feedback. That if you're driving a corner, you're in 3rd gear, high revs. That's your destination performance for that corner. We're simulating that rather than from 0 to top speed in one constant sort of emotionless electric feeling. We've given you gears back. And I drove an Ioniq 5N the other weekend for a weekend, and I just got out of the car smiling. It was the most crazy thing. You just select that mode and blasting through Seoul, up and down through the gears, finding every corner you could. And it's the emotional connection which is suddenly on another level to other fast EVs, high-powered EVs, but this becomes an amazing high-performance EV in terms of braking, steering, handling, emotional connection.
I think that's really an interesting point, because having driven sort of very fast petrol cars and then very fast electric cars, there has been that element. It feels a little. You've got the velocity, obviously, but you don't have this sort of
you don't have the
soul.
Feedback. You don't have the feedback.
And
it's hard to describe what it's like when you're changing down through the gears and you're getting a pop and a crackle from the exhausts in an EV. And you just can't help but smile like that. It's just preposterous, but so creative from the team to bring people on board with the emotional experience. And once you've driven it, you just think, oh, I can't help but just select that mode and just drive.
And it's interesting because you kind of, my immediate reaction to that is, oh, that's applique, that's kind of, that's pretend. But I guess, you do have to solve this issue of the kind of the
it's
harm
a new
of the
soul.
Yeah.
It's a new soul. It's maybe bringing the petrol heads. And me, I was like, nah, it can't be right. I was like, nah, really? I got out of the car, I was like, my God, it's the first time I'm going to select that mode.
Yeah.
And I have a garage with petrol engine cars, and I love that. And this was just a whole new level of emotional engagement with the driving experience. And the car is so stiff compared to a standard car. It's got so many systems on it, adaptive damping. It's got lots of clever tech on both motors and how it's balancing the torque, and you can select how you balance the torque, front, rear, everything. You can tune the sounds how you like them. And it made me think of when we're tuning exhaust sounds. We spend a lot of time with petrol cars tuning exhaust to sound right. And here we're playing with sound to make an N sound right. And you don't have to have the ignition mode. We've got sort of a rocket ship and a spaceship kind of noise and an EV noise, which is samples of motors and engines and rotors and things, and putting together for a soundtrack for that. And we tune exhaust, so why not tune that? And it honestly, it shocked me, because I didn't realize how it would give me so much fun. I think for a different generation it'll be different, but for me it's like, well, that's it. I'm just getting in and pressing that button.
And I guess, well, I mean, it's the perfect place to talk about sound, because we're at Goodwood. There's the roar of the engines going up there. What is it about Goodwood that is an attractive show to be at, I guess?
It's fans. It's fandom, and we have this. And I go karting in Korea to Paju track, and you go up there and you'll see Avante ends and Veloster ends. The car park's got half an N cars. They're all fans, and good. If you can convert your purchase into being fans of the brand, that you need to be where the fans are, and the fans are here, and we're into that, and that's what we're doing, and that's what our N brand's doing. So we need to be part of this momentum.
Yeah.
And if you saw yesterday, Ioniq 5N is not about drifting, but we set some up for drift spec and so on with the rally cars. Did a big drift show yesterday, and that's just part of what is possible. But they're hugely emotional cars and hugely quick driving performance vehicles that, with an 800-volt system, you don't get such a deterioration. And with the single pedal driving that we have, we get 0.6G regenerative braking. So you're not touching the brakes and you're getting 0.6G deceleration. Most people brake at 0.3, 0.4G. You can just one pedal driving, come off the throttle, and the regenerative braking is slowing you down at 0.6G. That's all energy going back into the battery, and that's just clever high performance tuning.
Yeah, and I think this is a fascinating thing, because you've got this really interesting moment at Hyundai where you've got this technological advancements.
Yeah.
How is that shaping design?
Well, for Ioniq 5N, there's no styling. It's all about air management and designing how the air is managed around the car. It's not as extreme as race car aerodynamics, of course. We've got the fundamental architecture of the car is the same. The car's getting these huge 21-inch wheels and tires, big rubber. We need to somehow give a bit of performance back in aerodynamics and cool the thing properly. And so, working with the guys in the wind tunnel, you're designing this like really nicely fitted suit around aerodynamics and performance, and so there's no styled element. I mean, everything's fun. The air in the front, the cooling we need for the battery pack, that's a bigger air intake that we need compared to usual. We've got this side air curtains at the front, which are functional, which you'll see visually they relate to RN22E, which was being done at the same time as we did this car. And then you get to the back, the rear spoiler is longer, the diffuser is longer, we've got the air separation behind the rear wheels. And this is all tuning the airflow. And then the forged wheels themselves, they're 21-inch, super thin spokes, light as we can make them, but we infilled the rim edge instead of with metal but with plastic inserts, because then we get a bit of drag reduction back, and it's lighter weight than doing it with metal. So everything around it, the engineers and our designers together have been really clicking it. And Albert Bierman enters the room. Hey Albert, just the right person. This is the tech whiz behind the car. Here we go.
His timing's impeccable.
Timing's impeccable. Albert, correct me if I'm getting anything wrong here.
And there are other details on that you see, the little pixel details that are appearing. Tell us about some of the sort of the detailing that you've played with.
The pixel story is an Ioniq story. It's all about that's we own pixels. We started the parametric pixels. We keep going with the pixels, and on this car we've taken them into the sort of checkered flag feeling. So the tread splits, those touch points are the same. Just not overdoing it, but just adding that in the right places. But I think the real touch points that are important, in particular, is the interior design, where we've now got, in terms of a unique new steering wheel, high performance steering wheel, it's all about being able to control everything with your hands on the wheel, with gloves on. So, touch screens don't work with gloves.
No.
And so Ho Young, our designer on that, he's just brilliant. He did this 20-minute presentation about how to design a performance steering wheel for me. And he was just so into it. He designed 3 steering wheels. And he could have done any of them actually. But how to then, because in the end the buttons are all configurable, so you can set them all up, settings before you go, and then you can control everything with gloves on from the steering wheel. Then we've got, because we were with our engineering team, you know, Albert, who's in the room here, stiffening up the whole chassis. We're stiffening up between the instrument panel and the floor. There's some new braces coming in. We needed to shroud those nicely or show them off. But we also need knee bracing in the front. So we've got a new console in the center with knee pads, so you can brace yourself in as you're driving. The seats themselves, at the end seat, which moves your H point down 20 millimeters. The car is lowered 20 millimeters as well, so you're 40 millimeters lower than the standard Ioniq 5. And so you've got this whole touch points, interaction points that are tuned for your experience. And yeah, it's all about that performance. But the car, if you put it on its nice quiet settings and it's just Monday to Friday, you just take the family shopping and then click a few touch buttons.
If you can resist the temptation.
If you can resist it. If they're not in the car, you can just, traffic lights, corners and so on. That's the spread of appeal the car has. And in design terms, how the visual aspects have been designed to design the performance in, and then how the teams in the N brand have designed the soundtrack for that. Indeed, you can turn it all off and just have it completely quiet, or you can just go mad. It's great.
And we're still in this early stages, relatively speaking, in the EV design story. How do you see it evolving? Just if I could ask you to zoom out ever so slightly, Simon, because we've had the era of the SUV, I guess, and that's been dominant. Do you see new typologies emerging that perhaps blend a few different archetypes, I guess?
I'm sure. I mean, I think the car design community, and you see a lot of them here, see a lot of friends around the place here. We're all challenging what's right, but some fundamentals don't change, like our physiology doesn't change and family sizes do change. So there will be different typologies that are coming. Watch this space. There's a lot coming from us and from the N brand, where it goes. And Ioniq 5N is just our next N. It's not the end of the journey, it's just the next stage in our journey. And where it goes next, wait and see.
And finally, Simon, I have to ask you about your jacket.
Yes.
It is, well, everyone was commenting on it yesterday. There it is.
Go, look at that. They spelled my name wrong though. So my name's Steve McQueen, but anyway, that's close. But yes, this is a fortunate one. If you live in Shanghai, and I did so luckily for so long, you get to know the people in the fabrics market, and when you see a good picture of something good, you can send it to them because they have your dimensions, your measurements, and so you can send it down to Jenny and Peter. Big shout out to Jenny and Peter in Shanghai. So you get nice jackets, and they got my birth year wrong as well, but 1970. But so I sent them a picture, and they made it for me. Wonderful. Not for this event.
It's worked very well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Simon. Always a pleasure to chat to you, and we'll see you more stuff from Hyundai.
Yeah, I'm sure. Thanks a lot.